Hello everyone, and you're very welcome back to Online Yoga with Yoga Mara. So I'm Hannah and I'm going to lead you through this evening's practice, and because of the day that's in it, it's quite wet and miserable, we're going to take it nice and slow this evening and do more of a yin style practice. So for anyone who hasn't practiced yin before, it is a much slower meditative way of getting into different types of yoga poses. So what we want to make sure is that we're not being too activated or tensing too much of the muscles. So when you do find yourself in the pose, what I would recommend is that you breathe deeply as usual, and also try to soften and relax into the pose. So this gives our fascia and our connective tissues a much deeper stretch, and just allows the body to go into a more meditative state. So it's quite challenging on the mind because we sit in stillness for a little bit longer than we usually would. But trust the process, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'm going to use a pillow, so if you want to grab a cushion from your couch or a pillow from your bedroom, you can do that as well. This is just an extra support to have throughout the practice. It's not necessary, but if you do want to grab one, please go ahead and do that. And to begin, we're going to sit cross-legged and just lining up our chakras. So from the pelvis, bringing heart over pelvis, head over heart, sitting up nice and tall and drawing the shoulders up to the ears, and then looping them down the back body. And from here you can bring both hands to touch in your Anjali Mudra as you tuck the thumb into the sternum, into the center of your chest, your heart chakra. Bringing the elbows out, so we're creating that nice force between the two palms, locking the elbows and forearms. And if it feels safe, you can gently soften the lids of the eyes. And on your next exhale, you can slowly start to tuck the chin into the chest as you bow the head in gratitude. Allowing a small little stretch in the back of the neck. And just taking a couple of cycles of breath here to allow yourself to fully arrive to the mat. Fully arrive to your practice this evening. Noticing how the body feels after your day, what thoughts are propping up in your mind in this moment. Acknowledging the thoughts, but choosing to not attach to them. So perfectly normal, perfectly natural for us to get distracted as we sit still. Our minds can race, especially after a busy day at work or with children. Whatever it may be. Just allowing this time to sit in full awareness of how you feel in this moment. Are there any places where you're holding tension in the body? Does your mind feel cloudy or strained? However way you feel, starting to breathe deeply in through the nose, filling up the belly, expanding the chest, and exhale to sigh out any negative emotions or feelings in the body. Letting go of the day you just had. Inhale that fresh energy. Exhale, release any toxins, stale energy from the body. Let's do one more deep inhale. Nice big cleansing breath. Exhale, slide out. And I invite you in this moment to make your Sankalpa or your intention for your practice a positive statement that allows you to plant the seed of the subconscious, making yourself feel the way you want to feel. It could be anything. I am content. I am patient. I choose happiness. Whatever resonates with you personally, saying that to yourself 3 times now. Breathing it in and letting it settle into the subconscious mind. On your next inhale, gently starting to bring the neck back up nice and tall, the gaze out in front, and you can place both hands either side of the hips. So from here we're going to untuck the toes, coming into all fours. So finding your tabletop position, and you're going to bring the big toes to touch here and send the knees out nice and wide. So coming into a nice wide-legged child's pose and sending the hips back, keeping those hands out in front to begin. As you inhale, we're going to reach up with that right hand, twisting towards the side. Bring your gaze up towards the right fingertips. As you exhale, we're going to start to thread that right hand in and underneath the left shoulder. So come down onto the right shoulder and walk that left hand out in front. So option to bring your cushion in here, where you can rest your head on the cushion, or allowing your head to rest fully onto the floor. Whatever feels good, whatever feels more accessible to you this evening. And just taking a moment to breathe into this wide-legged child's pose, or Balasana pose. Finding a gentle twist as we open up the shoulders and the chest. Starting to draw that left armpit a little bit closer down towards the ground. Opening up that left shoulder with our right shoulder. Slowly opening up the hips. And breathing into that space. So really breathe all the way down into both inner hip flexors there. Massaging the muscle with the breath. And noticing here if you're holding tightness, if you're tensing. And choosing to soften, relax. Release tension from the legs, from the hips, from the lower back. Melting down into the pose. And just breathing softly. Noticing your breath going in and out of the body. Let's take 2 more cycles of breath. Inhaling deeply, filling up the belly. Exhaling slowly, releasing more tension from the body. Deep inhale. And exhale. On your next inhale, gently walking that left hand back towards the body, slowly coming all the way back up. And from here we're going to extend that right arm out in front as we twist over to the left, reach up with that left hand. And as you exhale, slowly starting to twist over towards the right side, placing that left arm in and underneath that right shoulder, walking that right hand all the way out in front, resting the head on the pillow. You can put your chin, forehead, or turning to the side. Whatever feels more comfortable. Melting into this pose, sitting in it for at least a minute. Allowing the breath to soften the muscles, allowing the tension to release nice and slowly. Allowing yourself to sit in stillness. Noticing the thoughts, noticing the mind's activity. Noticing and then choosing to come back to the breath when you notice a mind wander. Breathing nice and deeply in through the nose. Exhaling back out through the nose. Noticing if you're tensing in the legs, the knees or the hips, and choosing to soften here. Choosing to soften in the shoulders and the neck. And let's do 2 more cycles of breath. On your next inhale, slowly walking that right hand back, releasing the left arm from underneath right, and you can place the pillow towards one side. And from here, coming back up onto all fours, bringing those knees back in underneath the hips, and coming on to the bum. We're going to come into a nice wide straddle, so stretching the legs out either side of the mat. Now your straddle could be here if you can feel a stretch in the inner thigh and the hips, or it can be out a little bit wider, wherever feels good. So just going to your own personal edge this evening. And just taking a moment, usually in our other yoga classes we'd be flexing the feet and engaging the legs, but I want you to just soften the legs here, so really sinking down into the sit bones, bringing that cushion back towards the centre, and inhaling to lengthen up through the crown of the head. And as you exhale, finding a gentle round in the spine, coming into a forward fold. So option to double up the cushion if you'd like to bring the chest down on, so you have a little bit of support for your chest here. And again, just making sure that we're relaxing the legs, we're relaxing the spine, the neck and shoulders. There's no tension, there's no flexing of the feet, there's no pushing forward. Simply surrendering into this pose, into this forward fold, supported forward fold. Breathing nice and deeply here. Finding your personal edge, somewhere where you can sit for at least a minute or so. Allowing those connective tissues start to mend, start to stretch. Deep breaths into that space. Let's do 2 more cycles of breath here. Inhaling right down into the pit of the stomach, expanding the chest and belly. Exhale to release. Inhale, nice deep cleansing breath. And exhale. On your next inhale, slowly walking those hands back towards the hips, and we're going to release that pillow if you are using a pillow. Inhale as you reach the arms all the way up and overhead, finding length through the fingertips. Exhale, we're going to start to rotate the torso over towards the right leg, and then gently start to fold the chest over that right leg, keeping the legs nice and relaxed, allowing that forward fold coming over towards the right side. Option to place hand over shin, or you can place the cushion on the leg to bring the leg up a little bit closer to you. Or for anyone that is a bit more flexible, you can bring that right forearm inside the inner part of that right leg. An option to also inhale as you reach up with the left hand, and slowly starting to guide that left hand over, really opening up that left side body. Gaze can be out in front or all the way up to the elbow. Breathing deeply here. Taking an inhale as you reach that left hand up. And as you exhale again, twisting the torso over that right leg, folding forward. Breathing deeply into that space. Feeling that lovely stretch in the left side body, also in the hips, the hamstrings. And also making sure that both sit bones are on the floor. So if you feel that sit bone lifting off the floor, maybe bringing the legs a little bit closer towards each other. Making sure that we're getting the right stretch. Taking 1 more cycle of breath here. And on the next inhale, slowly guiding the upper body all the way back up. Inhale as you reach the arms up and overhead. Finding length. Exhale as you twist the torso over to the left and slowly start to hinge forward, allowing that upper body to fall down over the left leg. And just landing wherever you land. So if you're here, that's perfect. If you're up here, you're still feeling a nice stretch. Wherever feels good for you to be able to hold this pose. And again, option for anyone that wants to start to open up that right side body, bringing that left forearm on towards the left shin or inside the left inner leg. And inhale to reach up with that right hand. Exhale as you slowly start to reach that right hand over towards the left foot. Bringing the gaze out in front or really opening up that chest and heart, bringing the gaze towards the inner elbow crease. Inhale, reach up with the right hand. Exhale, slowly twisting torso over left leg and folding forward. Relaxing the legs, checking in on that tension, making sure the muscles are relaxed. Taking one more cycle of breath here. And on your next inhale, slowly starting to draw that upper body all the way back up, nice and tall. Bringing those heels together and bending the knees, tucking them into the chest, giving a gentle squeeze. And exhale, releasing the hands down. From here, we're going to come back up onto all fours, finding tabletop position. So in our tabletop, we're going to have our hands underneath shoulders, knees are underneath hips, and with a nice neutral spine where we're separating out the shoulder blades, pushing the mat away from underneath us, keeping the top part of the foot pressed down into the ground. So creating that really tight center, that tight core. And on your next inhale, slowly starting to send your belly down towards the mat as the hips come up nice and high, shoulders draw up and away from the ears, gazes out in front or all the way up. Exhale, slowly starting to round the spine, push the hips forward. As you draw those elbows in towards each other, allow the head to hang down heavy. Inhale, slowly pushing up for cow. Exhale, finding your cat pose. Open up the shoulder blades, push the hips forward. Inhale, coming up for cow. Spreading those fingers nice and wide, pressing down into the fingertips. Exhale for cat. Stretching out all the vertebrae of the spine. Inhale, slowly coming back towards your tabletop position. From here, we're going to take that cushion away. And keeping the hips above the knees, we're going to slowly start to walk the hands forward. So coming down either onto your elbows, so coming down onto the forearms, which is a dolphin pose. And you can stay here if you wish and take a couple breaths, but if you'd like to go a little bit further, we can also go into our puppy pose or Anahatasana, heart melting pose. And that's where we're going to walk the hands forward a little bit further, and from here start to melt the chest down. So the knees or the hips are kept above the knees, and we're just drawing the chest down. So it's a great one to open up the shoulders, create a lovely supple spine. And a lovely one for the heart chakra, melting the heart closer to the earth. Keeping that strong foundation with the legs and the hips above knees. Melting the chest down, breathing very deeply here. This is a very challenging one, so making sure you're using your breath to go a little bit deeper. Stay in the pose. Gorgeous one for the neck and shoulders. Let's do 2 more cycles of breath here. On your next inhale, slowly starting to push up onto the elbows, bringing those elbows back underneath shoulders, finding your dolphin pose. And from here we're going to bring the both palms together. So sending our energy down into the forearms. I want you to really push down into those forearms. So finding that strength coming in through the lower part of the arm here. Press down into the tops of the feet. Engage in the core and separate out the shoulder blades. Keep that nice subtle energy where you're connecting all of the muscles in the body. Send that energy down away from you, down into the ground. And exhale, slowly release, soften and relax. From here, coming back up in towards your tabletop position. And from tabletop, inhale as you reach the arm all the way up towards the sky. Right arm comes up, gaze at the right fingertips. Exhale as you slowly start to draw right hand in and underneath left shoulder, finding our thread the needle pose. So walking left hand all the way up in front, or you can bring your left hand around and wrap it behind your right hip crease. So this is a really good one for the right shoulder. If your hand is around at the left hip crease or the right hip crease, you can slowly start to draw that left shoulder back as you bring your gaze up towards the ceiling. Open up that chest area. Or you can leave that left hand out in front, keeping that armpit drawn down into the ground, really stretching out that right shoulder. A couple of options here. Whatever feels nice and best for you. And just breathing into it. Taking one more cycle of breath. And exhale, release that left hand down, pressing up onto the left palm, removing that right hand, coming back to your neutral tabletop position. Switching sides, so pressing down into that right hand, and this time twisting and reaching up with the left. Exhale as you slowly start to draw left hand in and underneath right shoulder, bending into the right elbow, walking that left hand or the right hand forward, or sweeping right hand all the way around towards the left hip crease. Drawing that gaze up towards the ceiling, opening up the shoulders, the sternum. Breathing into that space. Or option to leave that left hand fully stretched out in front, right hand fully stretched out in front. Thread the needle. Lovely one for the shoulders. One more cycle of breath here. And on your inhale, slowly walking that right hand back, releasing left arm, coming back to your neutral tabletop position. Taking an inhale and exhale to side out. On your next inhale, bringing those big toes to touch. Slowly start to walk the knees out nice and wide, coming down either side of the yoga mat. Option to bring your cushion back into this one. As you send the sit bones down into the heels, you can start to walk that cushion back, allowing the chest to rest onto that support. Allowing yourself to melt down into the mat. And just taking a moment to come back to your body, come back to your breath. Relaxing all muscles, really softening into this pose. We're not walking forward, we're not sending hips back, we're just releasing, relaxing. Nice and soft. Focusing on your breath. Coming back to that statement, your Sankalpa, the I am statement. I am content. I am patient. I choose happiness. Whatever you said to yourself, whatever way you want to feel. Repeating it to yourself now, soaking it all in. On your next inhale, slowly starting to bring your gaze up towards your hands. I'm going to push up onto the palms. Walk those hands back in underneath the shoulders, releasing that pillow away from underneath you. Knees come back in line, finding your tabletop position. From tabletop, I'm going to tuck the toes underneath. Inhale as you press down into the fingertips, hover the knees above the mat. Keep the knees nice and bent to begin, stretching out the feet, engaging your core. Exhale to slowly lower the knees down. Inhale, slowly hover the knees, and this time sending the hips up high. Draw the heels back, coming into your downward facing dog. So in downward dog, you can start to pedal the feet out, stretching out the back of the hamstrings. Allowing that soft opening of the back of the legs. As you come into a more vinyasa style sequence in this practice, keeping it nice and slow. Taking a breather here, inhale and exhale to side out. On your next inhale, keep the gaze back towards the feet, and from here we're going to start to walk the hands back. So keeping those legs nice and straight and tall, allowing the crown of the head to hang heavy. And from here you can clasp onto each elbow at opposite hand, rocking from side to side. Option to bend the knees slightly, finding your ragdoll pose. So great one to massage out the lower back. And exhale, release the hands down, slowly walking the hands all the way out, coming into your high plank. So in high plank, our hands are underneath our shoulders. We're pressing that energy down into the ground. We're also making sure that our hips aren't up too high and that they're not scooping down too low. That puts pressure on our lower back. So making sure to keep that nice strong center, nice strong core. Inhale as you draw those elbows really close towards the rib cage. And exhale as you slowly start to lower the body all the way down. Nice and slow. Down into the ground. Well done. From here we're going to start to walk those legs back. I'm slowly starting to bring the elbows underneath the shoulders. We're going to come up onto the forearms. So this is called our Sphinx pose. So the shoulders are above the elbows, the hands are out in front, or you can bring both palms to touch. Option to keep your gaze forward and close the eyes, or you can tuck the chin towards chest. Whatever feels good. And again, checking in with your glutes. So usually when we're in our Sphinx pose, a lot of people tend to tense the glutes. So I want you to try to soften and relax the lower legs, or relax the legs, the lower part of your body and the glutes, and you'll notice a deepening of a stretch and a sensation, a stimulating sensation in the lower back. If that becomes too overwhelming, you can start to tense the glutes, then release, tense and release, and that just takes a bit more pressure off the lower back. So just choosing your own variation. We want to make sure that our shoulders, that we're not sinking down into the shoulders. We want to draw that upper body up and away from the mat. Press down into the forearms. And then taking a nice deep inhale. Exhale as you softly close the lids of the eyes, relaxing the lower part of your body. And breathing into your Sphinx pose. Allowing the muscles in the lower back to fully relax, to release themselves of tension, to find a deep, nourishing stretch. Going to stay here for a couple more breaths. Just allowing yourself to come into that meditative state. Listening to your body. Feeling the breath move through each cell, bringing fresh energy, fresh oxygenated blood. Taking one more cycle of breath here. On your next inhale, gently starting to open the lids of the eyes. From here we're going to start to walk the left hand out towards that left corner of the mat. Right hand points out towards the right corner of the mat. And gently, if it feels good, we're going to start to come up onto the palms. So taking the elbow and forearm off the ground, coming into what's called our seal pose. So this is a deeper stretch. So if anyone has pain or difficulty with stretching out that lower back, I would recommend coming back down to Sphinx and again finding your own personal edge, whether you're relaxing the glutes or tensing them. But for anyone who would like to go a little bit deeper today, coming up a bit higher off the mat, we're allowing that belly to fully come off the mat and reaching out, left hand out towards the left, right hand towards the right, like a seal's flippers. So really finding into that deep stretch in the lower back. Again, because this one is a bit more intense, we're going to start to tighten the glutes and then relax them. So again, going with tightening and releasing, tightening and releasing. So just taking that pressure off the lower back. And when you feel like you're ready to fully release into the stretch and relax the glutes, relax the lower body. Just choosing to do that as you stretch out the lower back. Coming back to the breath. These poses can be challenging as we sit in stillness and we sit in a discomfort. But if anyone feels overwhelmed at any stage, please come out of the pose. We don't want any injuries, we just want you to feel that stimulation, but not be overwhelmed by it. Taking those breaths all the way down towards the lower back. Let's do one more cycle of breath here. Deep inhale. And as you exhale, gently lowering down onto the elbows. Walking those hands back in line, finding your Sphinx pose. Relaxing the glutes. And from here, allowing that upper body to come all the way down, flat to the mat. Placing your head towards one side, reaching the hands back. And just trying to neutralize the spine here, so just finding gentle resting pose. Neutralizing the spine, releasing all that tension. Coming back to your breath. On your next inhale, slowly walking those hands back up underneath the shoulders and gently pushing yourself all the way back up, finding all fours. And from here, again, bringing those knees out nice and wide, taking an inhale to lengthen up through the crown of the head. Exhale as you slowly start to send your sit bones down towards the heels. Walk the hands forward and melt the chest down, Balasana, Child's Pose. Breathing into it here.
Relaxing the hands and arms, relaxing the knees, the hips. On your next inhale, slowly bringing your gaze up towards your hands. I'm going to push up onto the palms, walk hands back in underneath shoulders, knees come back in underneath hips, and slowly start to send your knees out towards the side as you swivel the legs around so they come out in front of you. And from here, we're going to place both feet down onto the ground, and then slowly starting to walk back onto the hands, coming onto the elbows. And if it feels good, you're going to bring the soles of the feet together, allowing the knees to come out either side. So we're finding our butterfly pose in the bottom part of the body, or cobbler pose. And the closer that the heels are towards the pelvis, the deeper that the stretch goes in towards the hips. So if you do have really tight hips, maybe keeping those feet a little bit further away from the pelvis. But if not, you can tuck them up nice and tight up towards. And with the elbows, we're going to plant down into those forearms, right down into the mat. And slowly start to open up the chest. So if your shoulders are round you, we're going to start to draw the shoulder blades in together as you move the chest forward, bringing the gaze all the way back. So allowing either chin to tuck to chest, or allowing the gaze and the head to drop back. This is our fish pose. So this is a lovely one in yin as it really starts to open up the heart center, finding a lovely gentle back bend, so counterbalancing that lovely stretch we did for the lower back. So just allowing all of the center to open the hips. Making sure that we are really lifting the torso, really lifting the chest. Breathing deeply. And if the head hanging back is too much, again, knowing that you can bring the chin to chest, gaze out in front, closing the lids of the eyes, pressing down into the forearms, bring that support. And on your next inhale, slowly starting to bring the spine all the way down into the mat. Keep the legs exactly where they are. And from here we're going to bring our hands in towards a diamond shape, placing the hands over the belly. And just taking a couple of breaths here, just allowing everything to find its rest. Find that softening in the body and the muscles. Softening in the breath. Coming back to your intention, your Sankalpa, the I am or I choose statement. Taking all of that energy into your body, into your system. And letting anything that's holding you back, letting it go with the breath. As you inhale, feeling the belly rise, seeing the hands rise with it. Exhale, noticing the deflation in the belly, the contraction in the chest. Breathing deeply here and softly. Noticing a new openness in the body. New openness in the mind. Inhale as you extend both legs out nice and long. And from here, placing both palms facing up towards the ceiling, back of the hands down into the ground. Coming into your Savasana pose, your dead body pose. Option to bring your cushion and place the cushion just underneath the lower back, so we're bringing those hips up a little bit higher than the heart. Just create a gentle inversion here. Just a bit of extra support. Or you can lie in full Shavasana, whatever suits you guys. And as we find this resting pose, knowing that with all that movement and stretching, your body has benefited so much. Removing blockages, focusing on the deep connective tissues, but also the benefit that your mind has taken. Coming into that meditative state, challenging yourself to sit still in that discomfort. And it's not until we lean into these discomforts that come up in our life that we can fully find healing. So healing your body, healing your mind this evening. As you lie back and breathe deeply, option to grab a blanket or a hoodie to get cozy if you wish. You'll be here for a couple of moments, allowing yourself to fully reap the reward of what you've just done for your body and for your mind. Finding stillness and peace. Slowly start to bring your awareness back into your body. Moving the toes and the fingers. Option to take a stretch overhead. And slowly releasing the cushion if you're using one and turning over onto one side, finding the fetal position. And from here, as you inhale, push yourself all the way back up, coming back to a cross-legged position, sitting at the top of your mat. Again, bringing that head over heart, heart over pelvis. Creating that lovely straight line, lining up the chakra, lining up the vertebrae. Inhale as you reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale as you slowly start to draw the thumb down to the heart center, tucking chin to chest. Taking a moment to find gratitude. Gratitude to yourself for turning up onto the mat, for diving into the unknown. For a lot of you, this may be your first time practicing a yin style class, so well done on accepting the challenge. It can be a difficult one for many. Gratitude that you have a functioning body allowing you to practice yoga. Gratitude that things are starting to open up. Gratitude for a new day full of new opportunities. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this practice. I look forward to seeing you soon. Namaste.